We got to talk with all the attention, and the success of this team hinders on number 10.
Yeah.
What do you think of Drake Maye? No pads on, acclimation period. They say it's an extension of OTAs, what we saw today, but what do you think from Drake Maye?
It felt like an extension of what we saw from Drake Maye at OTAs. He came out, had that one rough throw early, underthrew, popped Douglas on a crosser, nearly got picked off by Jabril Peppers. But after that, I thought he recovered nicely. I thought he got in rhythm. I thought he got in tempo. A little less 11-on-11 work overall than we maybe saw in the spring, so he didn't necessarily have the volume. I would think that will go up as camp goes on, but it felt like he more or less picked up where he was at the end of the spring, not getting picked off.
Right, and there's that one almost interception by Jabril Peppers. There's another thrown. And also, the positives, the sideline throw he had to Kyle Williams. We didn't see him a lot downfield, but that was a good connection to see. There's levels to it. It's him and Kyle Williams, who's going to have a big year this year. It's him challenging Christian Gonzalez. And it's somewhat opening up of a playbook, I feel like, there.
Yeah, I thought there was another throw, too, he made where in a game it's probably a sack, but this is camp. The guys keep it going right. So he's able to move out, throw on the run, layer a throw into Kayshon Boutte in the intermediate. And that's the kind of throw that he needs to make more of this year. And he talked after practice. He was asked what's going to be new about his game in 2025, and he mentioned wanting to remain a thrower when he scrambles. So not just running to run, not just running to get out of the pocket and pick up yards, but extend the play as a passer. And that, again, in a game it might be a sack, but the mentality's still there to get on the move, but can keep his eyes downfield, continue looking to throw. And then, the Kyle Williams throw, a great ball. He had another one. He had a couple nice back shoulder throws today. Comes out the first throw of that second period, which was his better period. I thought he made a statement right away. Comes out 15 yards up the field, zips one back shoulder right to Hunter Henry, pinpoint Robert Spillane in tight coverage. That's another throw that in the Josh McDaniels offense, that's going to be one he's going to be asked to make quite a bit. So you see him make it right away here on day one of camp.
And it's great to see that to Hunter Henry, one of the few guys that had familiarity with his playbook. Last time we saw him at McDaniels, 9 touchdowns with Mac Jones as his quarterback. That's a lot to see there with Hunter Henry and Drake Maye, how'd they do?
Yeah, so it felt like in the spring when things weren't going well, he would kind of start to go to Hunter Henry in volume, which makes sense because that's his comfort blanket, we like to call it. He was spreading the ball out a lot more today.
Yeah.
Right? Pop Douglas got his. Stefon Diggs had the first catch of the day from Drake Maye. We saw Kyle Williams get involved, Kayshon Boutte. He was throwing the ball to everybody. So a little bit from Hunter Henry, but I was actually more impressed with how he spread the ball out because, again, in the Josh McDaniels offense, that's key. There are obviously going to be high-volume guys, but part of this offense is all 5 skilled position players on the field need to be a legitimate target at any given time, and if you're not spreading the ball out, it's hard to enforce that on the defense.
And let's talk Stefon Diggs now.
Yeah.
Full participant. We saw the news yesterday. That was huge news for the progress of his recovery. Today is 270 days since he tore his ACL. Wasn't a full go in all the drills. There was a square-up tackling drill. He sat out. Then it got to blocking, creating separation. He's in. He was in 11-on-11s. What do you think of Diggs when it comes to his participation? Also, what we heard from him at the podium after.
So on his participation, I think it's encouraging. You didn't expect him to be exactly 100% today, but the fact he's participating in those team drills, that's what's important. Technique matters, but this is a guy that's been in the league for about a decade now, right? His technique should be there. It's how's he moving in his routes, which he looks good, and then it's building up that familiarity with the offense and building up his chemistry with Drake Maye, which he can do in those 11-on-11 periods. The fact he was out there for that is encouraging. I also kind of loved what he said at the podium. Not one specific thing, but it's a very day-by-day approach. He was asked about his chemistry with Drake Maye, said that's going to take time to build. He was asked where he's at with the playbook, said he's still learning, he's still studying. And then at the end, just kind of asked his overall approach, said don't ride the roller coaster, don't get too high or too low. You got to believe in the process, and he believes in the process. So you talk about a 180 from last year when he had some of these young receivers coming up talking about, these wide receiver rankings out there, they're wrong. We're so much better than people think we're going to be.
League.
Right, I got the best hands in the league. Meanwhile, Jalen Polk not out here today, even though he's not on PUP, which isn't going to help him. You had these guys coming out here making proclamations a week or two in a camp. Instead, Stefon Diggs, the guy who has the resume to make some of those proclamations, saying, it's still early. We're going to take a day-by-day approach. It's going to be a lot of hard work. That's something we've heard a lot about, not just him being here as a player, but his leadership on a younger offense.
Yeah.
That's exactly the kind of message you hope he's instilling in this group. And boom, day one at the podium, there it is.
And especially when he said brick by brick, right?
Yeah.
He's like, I'm not caught up in the big thing. There's going to be ups and downs. Brick by brick is big for the young guys learning the system, for him learning the system. And to open up too, I asked him, there's being a participant, there's being the guy he can be. How close does he feel to being Stefon Diggs? And he said, look, I'm me every day. I wake up and, there's a little talk there, like without addressing it but I think he knows he's not back to fully himself. Him being a full participant's big, but to go into that process, answer 2, that says, eventually he'll get back.
Right.
I don't expect that week 1. That would be, that would be winning the lottery for this receiving group. But eventually he can get back to being himself that we saw last year, who was great with the Texans.
And again, the big thing, it's not him being 100% week one, because even at 80% of what he was in Houston, he's still going to be their best wide receiver.
Yeah.
What's so big about him being involved is, you look at Kendrick Bourne last year, right, who missed the first 4 weeks on a similar timeline. He came back and physically he looked good, but the chemistry wasn't there because he wasn't out here day in and day out in the summer drilling with, I mean, I end up being Jacoby Brissett and Drake Maye, but it's that they're going to be on the same page. They're going to hit the ground rolling in week one so that Diggs isn't working on coming back physically and mentally, right? The mental part, the chemistry, the familiarity with the offense, that all should be there after these 5 weeks. Then it's just, okay, you got to get that explosiveness in the knee back, which, like you said, if it's not 100% week one, if he's 80%, you feel pretty good, and then he'll get there over time.
Chemistry will be big for the success of this offense. Our wide receivers as a whole, too. It was interesting to see, in the order of drills, how much you want to put into that. It was going Stefon Diggs, Kayshon Boutte, Pop Douglas, Kyle Williams, then Kendrick Bourne. But also, what did you think of the group at large? You put anything into the order they're going in, and then also that?
Not a ton into the order outside of Diggs going first. Just, again, it's him being in that leadership role. The bigger thing for me, again, is that everybody's involved. They're rotating different wide receivers in. A lot of the guys you mentioned we saw get first-team reps. I don't remember off the top of my head if Efton Chisholm got any first-team reps, but he's a regular with the second team. He's still in a position to compete. It's a crowded room. They're going to have to sort it out, and they're going to need to get to it right away because there's a lot of bodies to work through, and it doesn't seem like maybe there's – obviously some guys have the edge, right? A guy like Diggs is going to have the edge, but it doesn't seem like those guys on the fringe are getting trimmed early.
Yeah.
Right? We saw everybody, even Javon Baker, he didn't work with the top team today, but he got a couple chances with the twos, didn't have a target in the spring, got open today, was underthrown, and was intercepted by Josh Dobbs. Maybe miscommunication between the two, but even he's still in the mix.
Yeah, and talking about who's getting out their first team reps, what it looked like when we saw the second time of 11 on 11s, Kyle Williams out wide, Demario Douglas in the slot, and it'd be Stefon Diggs either slot or his alignment out wide too. That makes sense to me in those top three receivers, and maybe you interchange, say, a Pop Douglas for a Kendrick Bourne, depending on the situation.
I think if everybody's healthy, right, and Kyle Williams is the player we think he is, that's probably their best three. Diggs, Kyle Williams, Pop Douglas. Like you said, I think Bourne rotating in there as the fourth guy. But ultimately, if everything goes the way it should go, that should be the group getting the majority of the run. Now, it's Josh McDaniels. There's going to be a lot of 12 and 21 personnel. The question is it Kyle Williams? Is it Pop coming off the field because you're leaving Diggs on there when you go to those two tight end, two back sets? But that's really the group I hope Drake Maye gets to work a lot with because those are the guys I think he needs the chemistry with the most. And two of those three guys are new.
Yeah.
So, all the more reason to get on the same page as those guys.
What do you think of the offensive line that we saw? It looked like it was Will Campbell, Cole Strange, Grant Bradbury, Mike Onwenu, Morgan Moses as the ones. We saw some reps to the rookie Jared Wilson at center.
We did, and he was limited in the spring, so that was a question for me, is he going to be able to get going right away here as camp gets started? When we saw it today, he was. I think he can beat out Bradbury. I think he can. I think there's a case that he's the best center on this team. When you look at the way Garrett Bradbury kind of started to dip a little bit late last year, Jared Wilson, a young player, up and coming, athletic, very smart football player. That's going to be a battle to watch this summer.
Yeah.
I think that there is a situation where Jared Wilson's their starting week one center, especially if he's getting first team reps this early.
And again, no pads on. It's tough to evaluate everything.
Right.
But what do you think of the defense? Carlton Davis, same frame as Christian Gonzalez, a little thinner. Then I see a Harold Landry, a little undersized out there at defensive end, which is interesting.
We talked about this when you were on the radio with me the other week. It's a small group, but the reason they got smaller is they want to get quicker.
Faster.
And they definitely got quicker. So the speed's there, and that's good. It's going to be when the pads come on, how does that smaller, especially the front. The corners I'm not worried about size-wise, but the defensive line, the linebackers, those guys can fly around, and they're quick, and they're violent.
Yep.
How does it work when the Patriots start running the ball and everybody gets their pads on and it really becomes physical? We'll have to wait a couple days to figure that out, but that's a big question for me.
Can't wait for the pads to come on. That's when it will continue to be great.